Hey, what's up? See, I just did a video and forgot my phone was full, so it cut me off after like a minute or a couple minutes. So I cleared my phone a bit and doing another one. Even though two of my last three videos have zero views, so maybe I should give up. But hey, just in case like somebody views this, so funny like being a radical in this time, because you go from first you can go on social media and connect with all these other different people, and like I've had times on social media where I was at least a reasonably like popular account and got had a decent kind of following, or I could post something and get maybe like 100 likes on it sometimes or more if it was like a post that was, well liked, I guess. And and then to just be steadily muted so that steadily get like 0 likes no matter what you post, and then just delete it entirely so that you just are banned from the world. Um, but I guess it's motivated me to make contact with like people in real life, uh, largely around this type of issue about freedom. People who are against censorship and against mandates and lockdowns and stuff. So, I'm been helping to launch a group called Brave and Free Santa Cruz. And so that's focused on freedom issues and opposing the Great Reset. And like, you know, um, I don't know, it's interesting because like we're a group that is largely, um, maybe we're about like half leftists and half conservatives. And it's funny because it's somewhat like leftist activists, like hardcore, far left activists, and then conservative activists, because at the end of the day, like a lot of these definitions can be pretty convoluted. And, there's a lot of conservatives, they claim that they're, uh, like to me, conservatism just means royalism because I'm a historian. So when I think of conservatives and Tories, I just think of George III and Louis XIV and all the, scumbag tyrants. But people with no historical consciousness, sometimes they think of conservatism like it's something populist or whatever. So they might actually be basically leftists, but they think that it's called conservatism or something. Or maybe they just want to conserve things and they think that's the same thing as political conservatism. Political conservatism is about preserving monarchism, and it was defeated. We defeated the conservatives in 1776. So why anybody would fucking call themselves a conservative is uh is a mystery to me. But anyway, be that as it may, there's people who, I guess people get alienated by the pseudo left, and so then they go to the right, or they think like, oh, well, the leftists say to scrap the Constitution, so I must be right wing if I like the Constitution. But really, I mean, a lot of the worst of the pseudo left is just, sabotaged by the elites, not actual ideology. The elites just push whatever's like the most divisive, like the trans radical activism. It's very, very well funded because it helps to destroy any real populist left. It makes the left into just pure identity politics hysteria. So, but anyway, so our group is not sure how many people we have. I feel like we probably have at least like a couple hundred so far. Um, and so we're like meeting at the Grange, which is very cool, like Grange Hall, because the Grange was doing the same type of thing 100 years ago or more. Um, Populists, fighting against the banks and the elites. Um, so we also were meeting at the Peace and Justice Center, but I think there's a lot of the people running that place got totally into the Fauci thing, so the Grange is more on our wavelength in that sense. Because I don't know, they're farmers, they're more down to earth. They can't be hoodwinked so easily, I guess. Um, so anyway, we've had some meetings, and like a lot of the people involved, like one of the founders is Keith McHenry, who is one of the founders of Food Not Bombs, and so he's mostly a lot of his time, or most of his time, is given to Food Not Bombs because that's his main thing, and he's needed there because they always need like more help and everything doing that. um I should try to volunteer more for that, but like I don't know, it's hard for me to make it all the way down there, and anyway. But so yeah, it's him, and then like a couple others that are kind of were the main founders of it, or I would say maybe him and uh and his partner. She and he might be the yeah, they might be basically the originators of the group. Not sure who else was like part of the original founding of it. So it was the idea like to have a public group, because there's a lot of us that already know each other that are like freedom oriented in this county, and but just going like below the radar. But we wanted to have a public group for those of us who did want to go above the radar and try to do real mass mobilization. And so our goal, one of our goals, is to um try to get like what is it, I think 3% of the county, which would be like, I don't know, like I'm not sure how many thousand people. um so yeah, I'm not sure what, but like basically there's a potential for it, because like we're here in I don't know, there's just, it's a given that there's a lot of people that agree with us. Because I mean, even me, like, okay, there's somebody I randomly, like, I only know like hardly anybody in this town. Like I know like, like people that I actually talk to. Like there's one guy that I talk to sometimes who was a customer of mine when I worked at Safeway supermarket, and so I still had his number and was in touch with him. And then there's a guy that has a store nearby, and I sometimes when I go there, I'll talk to him a bit. So, this is a, leftist town basically in Northern California in the San Francisco Bay Area. Um, I would say arguably we're the most leftist county in California. Um, like yeah, and the least, and probably have the most people voting for the Green Party and other alternative parties, or at least one of the most. Uh, and But we're the least Faucist county in the Bay Area, and probably, um, I mean, we're less Faucist than a lot of counties in California. Like we're better than LA County, we're better than San Diego County. Um, I think a lot of the blue, I would say we're one of the best blue counties, if you could say, like, since we do tend to be Democrat, of the counties that tend to be Democrat, we were at least one of the least fascist over the last couple of years. I mean, our county government is still shit. They treat the homeless people like shit. They, I mean, they still were fascist. Absolutely. I'm not letting them off the hook. But my point is um, that just, our government was less fascist than the other counties. And that includes even our city governments, like Santa Cruz City. Um, they did like a mask mandate, and then they lifted it, and then they brought it back in the next winter, and then they did some of that standard shit, but they never did any vaccine mandates. I never even heard of a vaccine mandate for city workers here. So I would say that puts them better than a lot of blue counties and cities around the country. So to me, this is proof that the narrative that, like, oh, Faucism is just the natural, it's just the it's just communism or Marxism, or it's just the left. That's what happens when the left takes over. They help corporations or something, and fire workers or whatever. But no, like I say, like, this is the most leftist county. Like, I would say the only county that could compete with us as for being the most leftist in California would maybe be Humboldt. Um, but I would guess that Humboldt similarly wasn't as fascist as other counties, because I never heard of Humboldt listed in any of the horror stories of like extreme mandates and everything in California. So the place where actual leftists live, people like me, people who support Bernie Sanders, or used to support Bernie Sanders when before he completely sold out, and people who used to vote Green before the Green Party completely sold out. You know, um, this is where we live. I mean, a lot of us got priced out and had to move to Oregon or Colorado or Hawaii or something, um, but enough of us are still here that, in like, we were the second most uh like, I think that Santa Cruz voted for Bernie more than any other county in California. I think maybe Humboldt was the only one that was more, like, we were like 70%. This was like in 2016. we were like 70%. And that was actually when I wasn't even here. I think I was still in San Jose. But that was part of why I moved back to Santa Cruz, because of the watching these elections and how the rest of the state went for Hillary, and and it and yet Santa Cruz went like hardcore for Bernie. And so, like the places that are the Fauci, authoritarians, they did not, you know.